Hey everybody, here we have a HP G72 computer in for service to have its cooling fan replaced. And guys, this is not the same one that had the power jack replaced. This is a different one, brought by somebody else. The power jack on this one's just fine. Anyways, this computer, normally when you have fan failures, the fan either makes a lot of noise, more or less grinding noises, buzzing noises, that kind of stuff. This one is totally different. This one, the fan works just fine. I mean, I actually had to go out to the garage and blow the cooling system out with the air compressor, but other than that, it works fine. The fan runs very fast, blows lots of air. But I think the problem with the fan is the feedback circuit, if it has one. Some laptops have PWM controlled fans, some of them have just your average fans. This one is just an average fan, though it does have a feedback circuit, more or less a tachometer for the fan. What's funny is the person who brought this to me went ahead and bought the replacement fan. So now you have to go to Amazon and order a fan. This is actually a Delta, so it looks like a genuine replacement. Some of these fans that come with, like off Amazon places, have to be lubed up and stuff. And the cool thing is you can just pull the little propeller thing right off the shaft on these laptop fans with many ways. So what I'm going to do as a preparation, I'm going to grease that shaft because these sleeve bearing fans benefit from being oiled. So I got a little bitty dab of grease here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give me a little bitty dab off of this bunch here. This is actually axle grease. We don't need a whole bunch, just a little bitty blob of it. I'm going to stick that right on here. This little bitty step can help extend the life of the fan. Like I say, you don't need much, just a very small amount. Set that there. Close this back up. Make sure you see what I'm doing here. Yep, barely. So basically I put a very small dab of grease on the shaft. I'm going to stick this back on here. So even when it's a Delta, it's a good idea to do things like this to help improve the lifespan of the fan. The fan spins just fine. The reason why I'm doing this is because a while back I replaced the fan in an IBM ThinkPad or Lenovo ThinkPad laptop, and a few months later it come back to me with a rattling fan because there was no lube on the fan. So that's why I did this, even though it's a Delta. So basically I'm going to get started here. First thing you're going to do on a laptop is take the battery out. And of course unplug the power from the computer. Take the battery out, set it to the side. Factory HP battery. No telling how good it is. Next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to take out all these screws on the bottom of this computer. All we need is a small Phillips head screwdriver. Now I'll take loose the doors. Let's continue on. So we have, I think, at least 3 screws hidden under these access doors. Now with some computers, they require taking out the motherboard to replace the fan. Some don't. It just depends between system to system. Another thing I did is I checked hardware monitor using, the CPU ID hardware monitor to check the temperatures. Temperatures were fine. CPU, in fact, was getting a nice advantage from this fan glitch. The fan was running wide open, so the CPU was running relatively cool for this kind of laptop. And I'm also going to go ahead and just take out the hard drive while I'm at it, just in case. Doesn't hurt to do it. There's a hard drive. Samsung. Different brand than the last one I worked on. Had a, I can't remember, I think it had a Seagate in it. Anyways. Now I think it's pretty much safe to say we can start taking the keyboard and stuff loose. So I'm going to go ahead and take the C drive out too. Access screw is right there. You can't see what I'm doing really. Now you can. I can't see my camera's LCD display while I'm doing this, so bear with me. Just slides out, and this is actually a SATA optical drive. Now I'll go ahead and take the keyboard out. And just so you note, when you're working on a G72 or let's say G62 or a CQ62 compact, be very careful with the keyboard because it's fragile. I've had instances where the keys popped off and I had to put them back on. Not the easiest thing in the world to do. And it's normal for the keyboard to have some flex in it because the keyboard is a very thin device that you still want to be careful with it. I'm going to pull this latch here, take the keyboard ribbon cable out, and set this keyboard to the side. Now disconnect ribbon cables for the touchpad and similar devices. That's everything, so I'll go ahead and start to take this armrest loose, and then make sure there's no screws up under the optical drive. And just like the CQ72, there's no screws up under the optical drive. Like every computer is slightly different in a way. Now you're going to be surprised, on the inside of the G72 there's a lot of empty space. I can't remember if the same applies to the compact CQ62, but I know on the G72 there's a lot of empty space in here. And sometimes if you had to, you can use a flathead screwdriver to get the palm rest to start coming loose, but be careful. There's 4 additional screws that I missed. Little B screws. And once you have all the screws out, the palm rest should just come right off. As you see, I've got it pried most of the way off. It's going to finish getting it off. Anytime you're working on a laptop like this and you start seeing that the palm rest is getting difficult to come off, double check to make sure you didn't miss any screws. Because in past experience, if you run into a situation like that, it's because there's a screw still attached. And there is the entire palm rest. I'm going to set that to the side. Now the laptop is top heavy, or at least the lid is heavier than the rest of the system, so it just falls back. Okay, here's how the computer looks without the palm rest attached. This motherboard's going to have to come out to service that fan. So basically, I'm going to have to unplug any remaining connections here. Like I say, this is not my first G72, so I'm pretty familiar with how this thing goes together. Disconnect this cable here. And disconnect the video cable, or string cable. Set these to the side. Disconnect the cable that goes from the optical drive to the motherboard. It's like a miniature SATA interface. And try to keep these cables in their guides inside the plastic here. So that being said, I'm going to have to flip the computer back over and remove the memory and the Wi-Fi leads. First I'll remove this USB cable and gently remove this webcam cable. If you guys remember when I did the power jack replacement, the connector for the webcam just broke right off the motherboard. And I had to reflow solder it back to the board because it's a surface mount component. That being said, let's go ahead and check for any screws holding the board in place. I think they're all out. Well, actually we got I think 1 or 2, something like that. I see 1 over here. We got 2. I'll go ahead and take out the memory modules. Of course, we want to be careful with this cable here. The thing is, there's plenty of clearance between the screen and the motherboard. I'm going to take out these memory modules. This is DDR3. Four gigs of RAM. Two 2GB sticks, I believe. And of course, HP has to put their dumb replace with HP spare stickers in there. Like we really want to use their crappy memory. If I did memory replacements on this computer, I'd just go with some G-Scuff Newegg, much faster. Yep, 4 gigs of memory. And we'll take loose these Wi-Fi connectors. I was looking for some sort of indication to know where to put them in. They got little stickers on the cables. So now that's done. Actually, we have to take out the Wi-Fi card on this one too. It depends between computer to computer. And my magnetized screwdriver is trying to pick up screws with it. This is our little bitty Wi-Fi card. They're extremely tiny inside of laptops. Now we can proceed to take out the motherboard. And we're about to find out if we're going to have to take out the take the cooler off the motherboard to take the fan out. We're about to see. There's actually another screw here, and it's on the cooler itself. Be sure to take that out. So there's 3 screws on the back side of this motherboard that have to come out. And we got one more cable over here. I recommend you lift the board up just a little bit before you try to get it out, because it's hard to get to. It's the power jack cable. Now just gently lift the motherboard out of the system. And if you have to, remove any stubborn cables that get in the way. There's the motherboard. And it looks like we were going to have to take the cooler off the motherboard. Way to go, HP. Make these repairs so difficult. Trying to make everybody take their computers back to you. I mean, many computers out there to change out a fan, you don't have to go as far as to take the motherboard out and take the cooler loose from the motherboard. But I believe that's what we're going to do with this one. So you're also going to have some thermal compound available for your CPU. We have 4 screws that hold this onto the CPU. And right now I'm trying to figure out where the chipset is on this. I think it's heat sinkless. And if it is, I'm going to be very upset with HP. Nothing new. This is something they tend to do all the time. Improperly cool their computers that way they can fail right after when your warranty is up. Go ahead and disconnect this cable while we're at it. So when HP went as far as to use adhesive to hold this fan to the motherboard. It looks almost like packaging tape. Anyways, this is actually an APU system. This is interesting. You don't see this very often. At least it's my first time seeing this on a laptop. But your CPU and graphics chipset are on the same chip. There's your CPU die. There's your chipset die. I was kind of wondering about that. This over here, if you can see, is the south bridge. That's your south bridge. That's the motherboard. So basically you're going to have some thermal compound. After cleaning this off real good, you're going to have some thermal compound on this before you reapply the cooler. Now to change out that fan. We have some very tiny little screws. I also want to go ahead and look over some things while I'm at it. Well guys, we're running into an issue here. This fan, which claims to be compatible with G72, is not a genuine replacement. They're close similar, I'll give it that, they're close similar, but they're not the same. Have a look here. These fans are not exactly the same. This one here has a bigger motor on it than this one. Also, the framing around this fan is not the same size. Let's give you a closer look at everything. Okay, I ordered the correct fan for this computer and it has come. That's actually the old fan there. I went ahead and installed a new one. Basically what I did is I greased the shaft on the fan and then I installed it like so. Now it's time to go ahead and clean off this cooler and clean off the CPU, well actually the APU, and get everything set up. Okay, now I got the APU and the cooler cleaned up. We're going to apply some thermal compound.
go ahead and reinstall the cooler. Fairly simple process. You just basically set this over the 4 screw holes, and you go ahead and fasten the screws in. And basically from here the process goes in reverse. And don't forget to plug in your fan, because if you don't, your laptop will overheat. There's some laptops out there that actually are too dumb to actually cut themselves off when they overheat, such as the HP G72 series. Fan's plugged in, just tuck the wire to the side. And just like I mentioned, the process from here on out is pretty much reverse, reassembling the computer. So anyways, that's how you tear down the computer to change out the fan. Any questions or comments? Feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.